What screams I am not the badass I pretend to be. Inside me is a wolf, mess with me or my pack and I'll show my fangs, or any similar cringy edgy quote about being an animal. The recommended number of wolves inside you is 0. Concurrently, the recommended number of wolves you should be inside is also 0. Udramax 2014. Don't you dare. Unless you are a pregnant wolf. Then several is perfectly good. Weird way to spell gregnant. Telling people how badass you are. God, I'm a bastard. U2.B. Continually requesting a fight, but never actually starting the fight. I've seen lots of these, two men, usually having been drinking, standing about 30 feet from each other gesturing to each other with arms out saying, "Come on. Come on. I'll duck you up!" etc. for 5 minutes. It's like you're both not fooling anyone, just give it up and go get another beer. Teresa South Park episode that nails this. We don't take too kindly to people who don't take too kindly to others. Now Skeeter he ain't hurtin' nobody. Joker profile pic. Punisher bumper sticker. Do you know who I am? Or whose son-daughter I am kind of people. Do you know who I am? Please tell me because I do not, I feel very lost in life. I thought about going into flight attending years ago. I read a book written by a flight attendant, and her crew had come up with a response to the "Do you know who I am?" crowd. They'd immediately ask, "Oh dear, do you not know who you are? Does anyone recognize this person? They don't know who they are. Don't worry momser, we're calling 911 for you." Had a guy from a very wealthy family brought into the cells for DV offenses. DV guy, "Do you know who I am?" ? Cell sergeant arrested. DV guy didn't really have a comeback for that one. Claiming you are an alpha male. If you have to tell people you are a natural leader, you probably aren't one. I saw a massively lifted truck with the words alpha as duck stamped across the windshield the other day. Does that count? It might as well said "I'm afraid of everything." Those people are the human equivalent of porcupines frilling their quills at everything that walks by. Uploading video of yourself saying how badass you are. Project Badass was pretty badass though. The pyrotechnics are what makes this. The biggest indicator that you are not a badass is telling me you are a badass. If you have to tell me how important you are not terribly important. Game of Thrones Joffrey, "I am the king." Tywin Lannister, "Any king who says I am the king is no true king." I would have enlisted and probably made special forces, but I would have punched a drill sergeant if they had gotten in my face. Sure, bud. Yeah, cause they always trust the guy who can't control himself or follow orders to the highest ranks of the military, and they give them the biggest guns too. Claiming to be crazy like it's something to aspire to. In this context it just means abandoning tact and acting like an asshole to feel like a badass. Ada, I'm not referring to people with legitimate illnesses. I'm referring to people who think acting like an asshole makes them look tough. When I get mad I black out and lose control. Okay buddy. Edit, I'm disappointed that Therese some people replying that claim to black out. That's called a temper tantrum Jimmy, now go to your room. Bragging about not having control of your own body is cringe. Anyone who gives themselves a tough-sounding nickname. They are to be earned, not self-imposed. I met this one guy amongst a group of mutual friends. Everyone called him Beef. I was expecting a super huge douchebag. But he introduced himself as his actual name, and when I asked him about the nickname he just kind of shrugged. Super cool guy, and introduced me to his sister. Nicknames are a funny thing. I went to high school with a guy named Beef. We called him that because his last name was LaBeouf and it sounds similar. He was a small guy and really friendly. Edit, alright, I get it. It literally means beef in French. Was he an actual cannibal? Alpha males losing their shit when their self-image is even remotely challenged in any way. I'm an alpha for sure. But in the video game sense, where I'm an early release model with a ducton of issues. Alpha Molly 2042. saying I'm a psychopath. On the same note, having a profile picture of the Joker. Following those Joker quotes pages that nave nothing ever said by any version of the Joker ever. Demanding respect, but giving none to anyone. Or doing nothing to earn any respect, yet demand it. Do you know those people who disrespect teachers, janitors, and other people who work just to make them able to not being ducked in the ass by life? That screams it out loud. You're not badass, you're disrespectful and ignorant. I went to lunch with a friend and a friend of his. The waiter was a little slow in bringing us our drinks and food because it was busy. So when our bills came, instead of leaving an actual tip, the other guy wrote something snarky as his tip. I was really embarrassed and asked if he can refrain from doing that. He refused and then basically called me a wuss. I left a bigger tip on my bill to compensate and never wanted to be associated with that guy ever again. You're a real badass now, buddy, punching down on a retail worker who has to be at least polite to you to keep her job. Also those shit heels that make a mess on purpose for wait janitorial staff, and then say hey, it's job security. No, you pickled anus, we don't need your job security, we have plenty to do every day. You're just a self-centered shit wrinkle that doesn't have enough human DNA left to generate the smallest fraction of empathy. Any reference to oneself as alpha. People who brag. Edit, I think most people understand what I mean, but just to clarify, I'm not at all referring to being proud of your accomplishments or sharing your success with people you care about. That's obviously healthy and good. You can boast about anything if it's all you have. Maybe the less you have, the more you are required to boast. John Steinbeck. Getting your ass beat in a fight you provoked. I had a neighbor, who was a decent guy when sober, but a raging alcoholic at night. He was really fit and worked out and had a good job, but could be such a toxic dude bro. After a night where we both stayed up late after our so's fell asleep, he told me how he was depressed and would injure himself on purpose. He wouldn't tell anyone but me because I have visible scars from my past struggle with self-injury. It was in the same conversation he told me he picks fights with super buff strangers so he can lose on purpose. I hope he's doing okay. This isn't uncommon. Self-harm can manifest in many ways other than cutting, heavy drinking itself to lose control, risky sexual behavior, and picking fights to get other people to harm you are all possible manifestations. I'm prior enlisted in the Marines and I'm happy I was in, but now that I'm out that time has passed, I can't stand people that were in and it's their entire identity after they get out. All clothes are military stuff, vehicles covered in military decals, all they talk about is when they were in and so on. For anyone that wasn't in, the easiest way to tell someone that was in the military but weren't in any kind of real combat situations is if they wear and do all that crap. Edit spelling. I knew a guy who didn't even make it to boot camp that did all that shit. He broke his leg or something like a week before shipping off to boot camp, and I think they ended up just dismissing him completely or something to that effect. Didn't matter though, his whole personality revolved around being a Marine. You know my brother-in-law? Man, I've heard so many stories like this. A guy I went to high school with, his brother did pretty much the same thing. Spousal and child abuse. You don't want to see me mad unless your name is Bruce Banner, STFU. TBF, you don't want to see me mad because there's a decent chance I'll just start ugly crying and it'll get really awkward for everyone. Duck, I hate that I'm a frustrated crier. People are always like, oh shit, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you cry, and I'm sitting there like, no motherfucker, I am pissed, I want to fight. Barbed wire tattoos. That's the third step in looking like a douchebag. What's the first two? Username ending with 3 numbers. Phew. I'm safe.